My family wanted my sister's boyfriend to propose at my wedding. So I secretly got married a week earlier. Didn't tell anyone and left them with the bill. Now, they are trying to emotionally manipulate me into reimbursing them for everything. My baby sister is the golden child. Or maybe that's unfair to say. Maybe she didn't choose it, maybe none of us did. Maybe it chose her. But facts are facts. And in our house, she shone the brightest. She survived lupus as a child. A brutal, body-wrecking disease that nearly claimed her life before she even had the chance to live it. I was just 14 when she was diagnosed. She was 12. But I didn't know how bad it was back then. My parents shielded me, or maybe just didn't think I could handle it. They told me she was sick. Yes. But no one said she was dying. My memories of that time are a strange haze of hospital corridors, waiting rooms that always smelled like antiseptic, and my mom's drawn face as she tried to smile through her worry. I remember spending birthdays in hospitals, learning to do homework by myself, eating dinner alone. But it was all supposed to be temporary, right? It wasn't until years later, many years later, that I found out just how close we came to losing her. And maybe that's when everything changed. Or maybe everything had already changed long before I even realized. Because after she recovered, and thank God she did, our house wasn't just our house anymore. It became her kingdom. Everything was about her. Her needs, her dreams, her comfort. At first, I understood. I mean, she just survived something most adults couldn't handle. Of course she deserved a little extra. But it never stopped. It became normal. If she wanted the bigger room, she got it. If she didn't feel like doing chores, no one said a word. If she wanted to go to the expensive summer camp while I stayed home, so be it. When I complained, I was told I was selfish, jealous, ungrateful. Your sister's been through enough, Mom would say. I stopped complaining. But the resentment simmered. My sister, Liv, grew up to be beautiful, confident, and, okay, a little bratty. She knew how to get her way and never really outgrew that phase. Still, as adults, we managed to find common ground. We weren't best friends, but we were good. Better than we were as teens, definitely. Now I'm 28. Liv's 26. I'm engaged to Caleb, a sweet, grounded man who doesn't care for flashy things. We both agreed we didn't want a big wedding. Neither of us could afford it, and we liked the idea of something simple and intimate. We planned a small lakeside ceremony at his grandparents' home, with only about 40 guests. It was perfect. Quiet. Peaceful. Ours. But then my parents found out. No daughter of mine is getting married in someone's backyard, Mom said, horrified. They offered to pay for a bigger wedding. Venue, catering, decorations, everything. At first, I resisted. Caleb did too. We didn't want to be indebted to anyone, especially not for something we didn't ask for. But my parents insisted. My dad even got emotional about it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, he said. Let us give you this. Eventually, we gave in. We didn't want to disappoint them, and if it really meant that much to them, we could compromise. It still felt weird, though. Like the wedding had stopped being about us. Last week, my mom invited me over. I thought it was going to be about the wedding planning. I was wrong. I walked in to find not just my mom and dad, but also Liv's boyfriend, Theo. My stomach turned a little. Theo was fine, I guess. Kinda bland. He worked in finance and had that dry sense of humor that only really came out after a few drinks. Mom was beaming, like she just won the lottery. We have an idea. She chirped. A surprise. I sat down slowly, immediately cautious. When my mom says surprise, it rarely benefits me. Theo wants to propose to Liv at your wedding, she announced. I blinked. What? He wants to propose during the reception. Maybe while everyone's giving toasts. It would be so magical. It would be a nightmare, I said, laughing. They stared at me. You're not serious, I added. Theo looked uncomfortable. My dad cleared his throat. My mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. Why not? She asked, a little too sharply. It's such a sweet gesture. Imagine the pictures. Because it's my wedding, I said. Not Liv's engagement party. You always do this, Mom snapped. Make everything about you. I stared at her, stunned. It is about me, I said. It's literally my wedding day. Liv has been through so much, she said. You should want her to be happy. That was the moment. The one where everything I'd bottled up over the years cracked. There it is, I said. The golden child treatment. Again. That's not fair, Dad said quietly. No? Then why are you trying to hijack my wedding for Liv? Why does it always have to be about her? We paid for the wedding, Mom snapped. And we thought it would be a lovely moment. Ah, I said. Now it makes sense. I always thought it was odd you insisted on paying. But now I know why. Mom's face fell. You wanted control. You wanted to make it about her. Again. Her eyes filled with tears. Get out. Gladly. I walked out, hands shaking, heart racing. Not just from the fight, but from the years of swallowing words I should have said long ago. And that was the end of that night. Later, both she and my future brother-in-law sent me texts. Not apologies. Not explanations. Just warnings. Warnings not to ruin their moment. Not to spoil the surprise. Not to tell my sister. I read the messages over and over again, bile rising in my throat. I couldn't believe the audacity. Not only had they hijacked the one day that was supposed to be about me and my partner, but now they were threatening me if I dared to interfere with their plan. My fiancé, Caleb, stood by me, reading the texts with a grim expression. They're unbelievable, he muttered. Jaw tight. I knew he wanted to be supportive, but there was also this helplessness in his eyes that mirrored my own. Our wedding was weeks away. Thousands of dollars had already been spent by my parents. And even if we wanted to cancel the whole thing, the clock was ticking. I was pacing in our tiny living room, my bare feet slapping against the hardwood floor. I kept thinking back to when we first decided on the backyard wedding. How simple and beautiful it had felt. 40 people. Close friends and family. Homemade decorations. Lake views and fairy lights. It had been perfect. But my mother had bulldozed in with her grand vision and a $25,000 check. Now I saw the strings attached. That money had come with expectations. Not just a say in the cake or the flowers, but the power to transform my wedding into a stage for her next social media-worthy family moment. My phone buzzed. My mother again. I didn't want to pick up. But I did. Sweetheart, she started. Her voice was honeyed but strained. I was just talking to the planner and wanted to go over the proposal choreography. Mom, please, I said, already exhausted. Don't do this. Don't ruin my day. There was a pause. Ruin? I'm trying to make your day special. You're being dramatic. This is a beautiful gesture for your sister. She's your maid of honor. She's always been there for you. I felt like screaming. This isn't about her, I snapped. This is our wedding. Mine and Caleb's. We wanted something small and meaningful. You offered to help, and we appreciated it. But now it feels like this isn't even our wedding anymore. She sighed. Loudly. You always get like this when your sister is involved. Why can't you let go of your resentment? You know she's innocent in all this. You think this is about resentment? I begged you to help me plan a wedding, not a circus. Circus? Her voice cracked with offense. Do you have any idea what we've invested? Do you know how many relatives are flying in? And now you want to sabotage your sister's proposal out of spite? I was shaking. I closed my eyes and took a breath. I'm not sabotaging anything. But if you keep going ahead with this, I won't be there. Silence. Then she hung up. I stood in the quiet, trying to decide if I wanted to cry or punch a wall. Caleb came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. Let's call my grandparents, he said quietly. See if the backyard plan is still on the table. His grandparents had been our first choice. Their house had this serene lakeside view, and his grandmother made the best lemon bars in the world. When we first told them we were scaling up the wedding because my parents wanted a bigger celebration, they had seemed disappointed but understanding. Maybe, just maybe, they'd welcome the original plan again. We called. They answered. Of course, Grandma Jean said without missing a beat. We were just waiting for you to come back to your senses. We'll start prepping the garden. My heart swelled. But then came the next big dilemma. Do we tell my family? Do we cancel everything? Or do we just disappear? Caleb and I stayed up that night, lying on our living room floor, surrounded by save the dates, RSVP lists, seating charts. We talked about eloping. About whether to warn my sister. About whether to confront the boyfriend. You know, Caleb said softly, I get the feeling your sister might actually like getting proposed to at your wedding. I laughed bitterly. She probably would. That's the worst part. It wouldn't even faze her. She'd find a way to make it sweet and sentimental and all about her. He didn't deny it. The next morning, another message came from my mom. She was doubling down. "We're going ahead with the proposal, whether you help or not. Just think about how happy your sister will be. It's just a few minutes, and then it's all back to you and Caleb. Please don't ruin this for everyone." Ruin. That word again. Like I was the villain in all this. The proposal plan was absurd. I was supposed to be the one to make a little speech during the reception. Say something like, "Today isn't just about love for Caleb and I, it's also about celebrating love for someone else very dear to me." And then my sister's boyfriend and her girlfriends would leap into this rehearsed dance routine to her favorite song. Then, like some teen movie, he'd get down on one knee and propose. They had it all mapped out. All they needed was my blessing. Or rather, my participation. My complicity. I felt sick. Caleb and I started talking timelines. Could we pivot fast enough? Would the vendors understand? Could we lose our deposits and still make something beautiful? "We might need to start from scratch," he said, scrolling through local caterers. "But I think we can pull it off. We'll have fewer people, but they'll be the right people." That night, I wrote a message to my family. But I didn't send it. I sat there, staring at my laptop screen, hands trembling. Every word felt like a matchstick. One flick, and the whole bridge would burn. And the biggest question still hovered like smoke: should I warn my sister? Part of me wanted to. She didn't know. And maybe, just maybe, she deserved to make the choice herself. Would she say no? Would she be mortified at being proposed to on someone else's wedding day? But deep down, I knew. She wouldn't mind. Not really. She lived for that kind of attention. Still, would she want it this way? With me secretly resentful and disengaged? With our relationship hanging by a thread? I didn't know. And I wasn't sure I cared anymore. All I knew was that I needed my day back. Our day. Caleb and I sent the final text to his grandparents. "We're going with the original plan. Backyard wedding. 40 guests. Just love and lemon bars." They replied instantly, "We'll get the chairs out." We even asked Mom one last time if she'd be willing to donate the wedding fund to the Childhood Health Foundation instead, in our names. It was something we'd asked all our guests to do in lieu of wedding gifts. But of course, she refused. She wanted a party. For the extended family. For appearances. For her reels and hashtags, an Instagram-worthy proposal. And suddenly, I realized something: this was never really about me. I had a back and forth texting with my future brother-in-law, and at some point, I honestly don't even know what came over me. Maybe it was years of bottled up frustration, or maybe I just finally snapped. But I couldn't keep it in anymore. He called me bitter and jealous, like I was some villain standing in the way of a fairy tale. Jealous? Bitter? Was I supposed to just smile and nod while he hijacked the one day that was meant to celebrate me and my fiancée? A day we'd planned from scratch, pared down to its simplest, most meaningful form, only to be overshadowed by a performance they cooked up behind our backs? I blocked him. I didn't even want to see his name on my phone again. He didn't stop though. He texted my fiancée, some half-hearted apology sprinkled with just enough defensiveness to make it clear he wasn't sorry for what he did. Just sorry we didn't roll over and accept it. My fiancé, bless his steady heart, read the text silently and didn't reply. I didn't ask him to. We both knew this wasn't something that could be patched up with a "my bad." We spent that evening curled up on the sofa, our phones silenced, the wedding binder abandoned on the coffee table. It felt surreal, like we were in the eye of a storm pretending the winds hadn't already torn through everything. But as the hours passed, something like peace settled in. Not because the problem had gone away, but because we had finally decided what to do. "We still have time," I told him. "We can do this our way. Like we always wanted." And that's what we did. We started calling people, just our closest 20 guests. My fiancé's grandparents were overjoyed when we asked if their home was still available. They'd been so understanding when we initially declined, so respectful about letting us decide. When we told them the backyard wedding was back on, I could hear his grandmother clapping over the phone. We spent the next few days calling the vendors we had initially contacted, pulling together a simplified but beautiful version of our wedding. No sprawling ballroom, no extended family we hadn't spoken to in years, No Instagram-worthy photo ops choreographed by my mother. Just us. Just love. We even managed to shift our honeymoon plans. Instead of 3 weeks, we extended it to 4, moving the departure date to the morning after our new wedding date. The travel agent was incredibly helpful. I cried after I hung up the phone, not because I was sad, but because I finally felt like I was steering my own ship. My mom's wedding, that's what I started calling it in my head, was paid in full. 4 weeks away. No refund. No wiggle room. It had been the perfect trap. Spring the plan on me when we're too close to change anything. Hope I'll be too polite or too guilt-ridden to back out. But they didn't count on me having the courage to walk away. There was a sick kind of poetry to it. The same control they tried to exert over my day ended up leaving them with an empty venue and no bride. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Now, they'll get their 2 weeks notice the way they deserve it, through social media. A few photos, a caption, maybe a tag or two. Enough to let them know we did it. That we were happy. That we didn't need the big production to start our lives together. They'll probably turn the event into what they always wanted anyway, an engagement party for my sister. Streamers, champagne, some overly rehearsed dance to a song they picked without asking me. My sister will smile and cry and post pictures with captions like magical night and he finally popped the question. And they'll all pretend it was always meant to be. Maybe it is a win-win. We get our wedding. They get their party. And for the first time in my life, I didn't sacrifice my joy for someone else's comfort. Update 1. I'm now happily married and in Lake Bled, Slovenia for my honeymoon. It feels surreal. The calmness of the lake, the quiet rustle of the trees, the castle perched high on the cliff like something out of a fairy tale. It should be everything I ever dreamed of. And it is. Mostly. But I can't lie, a part of me is still tethered to the chaos back home. I tried to stay away from my phone. I really did. But the curiosity. It got the better of me. I wanted to see the fallout. I wanted to know how my family reacted when they realized I wasn't coming to the wedding they planned. The wedding I never wanted, that never felt like mine. It was ugly. Worse than I imagined. Before I get into the aftermath, I wanted to make something clear. I tried. I really, genuinely tried to compromise with my family. I pleaded, reasoned, explained. I told them, over and over again, how much this meant to me. That I had nothing against my sister. That I wasn't mad about her getting engaged. Hell, I even said I would have been okay with it on another day. But the sheer fact that everyone decided for me, that they made it non-negotiable that this proposal would happen on my wedding day without my input, was what made it unbearable. It wasn't a request. It wasn't even a suggestion. It was an announcement. A plan already set in motion, and I was just expected to smile, nod, and host it all on my supposed special day. So, I finally said no. No to the hijacked celebration. No to the scripted speech they wanted me to give about how today is about us two sisters. No to the choreographed dance that would end in a proposal that had nothing to do with me. No to being a prop in my own wedding. I called my mom. Told her that I wouldn't be attending the party she paid for. That if they wanted to throw an engagement party instead, they were welcome to. She went silent for a second, probably because she never expected me to actually pull the plug. And then she exploded. It was supposed to be a surprise, she yelled. You're ruining everything. I'm just giving you a heads up, I said calmly. You're about to lose a lot of money. She didn't take me seriously. I could hear it in her tone, the disbelief, like I was just throwing a tantrum. Like I'd come crawling back when the dust settled. What she didn't know was that everything had already changed. My fiancé and I had quietly shifted our entire plan. We moved the wedding a week earlier. We asked his grandparents if they were still willing to host it in their garden, and they were overjoyed. It was always what we wanted, a small, meaningful ceremony with 20 of our closest friends and family. No grand stage. No rehearsed speeches. No spotlight-stealing sideshows. Even our honeymoon was rebooked. We were originally supposed to leave the day after the wedding my mom planned, but we moved it up, added an extra week. That morning after our wedding, we got on a plane and never looked back. What touched me most was how our close friends rallied around us. Some had to book earlier flights, others shifted their schedules and took more vacation days just to be there. I can't explain how grateful I am for those people. They didn't just show up to a wedding. They showed up for me. But the hardest part was still ahead, my sister. I'd spent weeks bouncing between frustration, guilt, and confusion. I didn't want to hurt her. I love her. We've always had a complicated relationship, the kind where we love each other deeply but compete quietly. She's always been the golden girl. The one who gets the last slice of cake, the better bedroom, the new phone when mine was still fine. And I was always okay with it. Or at least I told myself I was. Because I loved her. Because I thought that was what being a good sister meant. But this crossed a line. And I knew that if I didn't say something, if I didn't at least try to talk to her directly, I'd carry this regret forever. So I told her. I told her everything. That I knew about the proposal. That Mom, her boyfriend, and even her friends had looped me into the plan like it was a done deal. That they wanted me to orchestrate the entire thing. That it was my wedding day, but apparently I was the supporting cast. She was disappointed. Not in them. In me. She said I ruined the surprise. That I should have just sucked it up and gone with the flow. That it wouldn't have hurt anyone. That maybe I was just jealous. That part stung the most. Because I knew that was the story everyone was going to tell now. That I was the jealous older sister who couldn't stand letting the spotlight shine on someone else for even a minute. She wasn't really angry at Mom, which honestly shocked me. But I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. That's how it's always been. She's the baby. She's the one whose birthdays turned into family reunions. Whose achievements were celebrated like Nobel Prizes. Who could do no wrong in their eyes. Still, I didn't tell her that the wedding had already happened. I wanted that choice to stay mine. My moment. My secret, at least for a little while longer. So here I am now, in Lake Bled. Married. Happy. Basking in the sunlight and sipping wine with a man who stood by me through all of it. A man who never once asked me to shrink myself or compromise my worth for the sake of keeping the peace. Back home, I imagine there's a flurry of panic. My mom trying to salvage the party. Guests wondering where the bride is. My sister's boyfriend probably confused about how to spin this. And me? I'm just watching the swans glide across the lake. Let them have their party. Let them toast and dance and pose for pictures under fairy lights. Maybe they'll even announce the engagement anyway and no one will care that the bride is missing. That's okay. Because I got the one thing they could never take away from me, my day, my way. I just hope, in some quiet moment between the noise, my sister remembers what it means to truly love someone, enough to not steal their moment just because you can. But I'm not holding my breath. The wedding was dreamlike. I wish I could bottle the entire day and relive it forever. Every little detail, from the subtle flower arrangements at my grandparents-in-law's estate to the hand-picked playlist that my best friend curated, made the day feel like it was built just for us. The sun shone warmly through the willow trees. My dress floated in the breeze like it belonged in a fairy tale, and my husband, my now husband, looked at me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. But in the back of my head, there was this faint, nagging ache. The people who were supposed to love me the most, my mom, dad, sister, they weren't there. They chose not to be there. But I had made peace with it. At least, I tried to. I refused to let their absence ruin our day. I had cried all my tears in the weeks leading up to it, drained every ounce of sorrow from my body until there was none left to shed. Now, there was only room for joy, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that from me. And my husband, God, he was amazing. As we stood in front of our closest friends and a few beloved family members, he held my hands and whispered his vows with a trembling voice. I promise to make you happy for the rest of your life, he said, and to make up for every heartbreak you've experienced before this moment. I broke. I cried, and for once, they were tears of gratitude. I had no idea what I did to deserve this man, but in that moment, I knew I was safe. I was loved. My in-laws, who had been nothing but kind and respectful through all the drama, surprised us right after the ceremony. They upgraded our honeymoon. We were going to Lake Bled in Slovenia, and instead of the modest little cabin we had originally booked, we were now staying in a luxurious 5-star hotel, complete with a lake view, spa treatments, and champagne in the room. My heart was full. The guest list was small, just how we wanted it. 20 people, hand-picked. I had my closest friends, a few cousins who had always been supportive, and my favorite aunt who had flown in last minute to stand by my side. We had gently asked everyone not to live stream or upload any photos on social media until we had safely arrived at our honeymoon destination. The idea was to avoid unnecessary drama while giving ourselves space to soak in the joy without backlash. And bless them, they respected that. Even when I knew some of them were itching to clap back at my family's antics online, they honored our request and stayed silent. I was proud of them. Until today. I should have never opened my phone. I had been so good about staying away from it. The hotel was a slice of heaven, and between couples massages, boat rides on the lake, and champagne breakfasts, I was practically floating. But the curiosity got the better of me. I just had to know, how did my family react? The answer hit me like a punch in the gut. My mother had posted a series of long, furious rants on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Paragraph after paragraph, publicly bashing me and my husband. She called me ungrateful, disrespectful, immature, selfish. She even included pictures from our wedding that she somehow got her hands on. I'm guessing one of my extended family members must have sent them to her. The captions were cruel. In one, she wrote, "This is the daughter I sacrificed everything for. Look how she repays me, by stabbing me in the back and humiliating our family on the internet. Thousands of dollars down the drain. No respect. No gratitude. Just heartbreak." That post was shared over 200 times. And the comments? Brutal. Aunts, uncles, distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all chiming in with their hot takes, some calling me heartless, others demanding I make amends. One even suggested I wasn't raised right. But what broke me the most was what she didn't do. She never once tried to call me. Not a single message. No voicemail. No email. Nothing. I honestly expected her to blow up my phone, if not out of anger, then at least out of desperation. But no. She just went straight to the internet, where she could weaponize public sympathy. And then came the bombshell. Both she and my father had announced they were cutting me off. Financially. Emotionally. Familially. And, to make matters worse, they were now demanding compensation for the money they claim I cost them by not showing up to my original wedding. Let me be clear, I never asked my parents to pay for anything. They offered. In fact, it was my mom who insisted on the big wedding, on booking the extravagant venue, the caterers, the band. She made all the decisions. I went along with it because I thought it would make her happy. But when she told me that my sister's engagement would be happening during the reception, without my input or consent, and refused to budge, that was the moment everything unraveled. And speaking of my sister, she wasn't far behind. People commented under my mom's posts, whining about how I had ruined his surprise. As if his surprise mattered more than my actual wedding. The entitlement was mind-numbing. Then came my sister's Instagram post, featuring a selfie and a caption that read, "Tired of jealous bees and haters. Some people just can't stand seeing you shine." The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. Not one of them reached out to me directly. Not even to fake concern. The only solace I found was that our guests had truly respected our wishes. Some of them were even directly attacked by my mom and extended family members online. Accused of enabling bad behavior and fueling the division in our family, but not one of them responded. Not one public comment. Not one defensive post. They stood their ground and respected our boundary. That meant the world to me. I don't know what the next few weeks will look like. The original wedding date was still set for this Saturday. I have no idea if they'll actually go through with the event. Maybe they'll try to salvage the celebration and turn it into an engagement party for my sister. Maybe they'll pretend it was never supposed to be my wedding to begin with. I really hope they do. I really, truly hope they go ahead with it. If only so that all that money and energy wasn't completely wasted. Let them have their moment. Let them have their pictures, their toasts, their cake. It's on Saturday. And I won't be there. Not because I'm being petty. But because I finally chose me. Update 2. On Saturday, they went through with the wedding. Or, I guess I should say what was supposed to be my wedding. That entire event, months of planning, deposits, arguments, fittings, heartbreak, was hijacked and reborn into something entirely different. It was no longer a wedding. It had somehow, magically, shamelessly morphed into an extravagant engagement party for my younger sister. Yes. You heard that right. They took my venue, my flowers, my seating arrangement, my cake, and slapped a different title on it. Like some twisted fairy tale where the stepsister steals the ball gown, dances with the prince, and everyone applauds her for being so resilient. The way I found out wasn't even through a phone call or message. It was through Instagram. I was in my hotel room, curled up beside my husband, my sweet, incredibly patient, and emotionally exhausted husband, when my phone buzzed. I wasn't going to check it. Honestly, I'd been trying to stay offline all week. But the preview on the lock screen read, "OMG, did you see this?" It was from my cousin, the one who thrives off chaos and family gossip like it's her full-time job. With a sigh, I clicked the link. And there it was. A perfectly filtered carousel of images. My sister, grinning ear to ear beneath the floral arch I had handpicked 6 months ago. The soft blush roses and eucalyptus garlands were still exactly as I imagined them, except now, they were framing her. Her in a body-hugging champagne dress that shimmered under the chandeliers. Her hand lifted to show off a sparkling ring that looked suspiciously similar to the one her boyfriend had shown me in secret, asking if I thought she'd love it. She looked stunning. I'll give her that. But all I could feel was this cold pit of nausea growing in my stomach. The caption under the post read, "Sparkles emoji, a night to remember. Surrounded by those who love us, we celebrated something truly magical. Haters didn't win. Love did. Hashtag engaged, hashtag blessed, hashtag my day my way, sparkles emoji." Haters? Was that supposed to be me? I kept scrolling. Photo after photo. My parents, front and center, clinking glasses. Guests mingling, laughing. Someone even uploaded a clip of the DJ hyping the crowd up as they shouted my sister's name like she was some kind of pop star. And then came the kicker, a professionally shot video showing the moment her boyfriend proposed, right there on the stage, where I had planned to say my vows. Cue the gasps, the confetti cannons, the loud applause. I wanted to scream. Not because of the celebration, but because of the audacity. The complete and utter gall of them to turn what was meant to be my wedding into a PR event for their narrative. And it worked. The comments section was flooded with praise. "So beautiful. You deserve all the happiness in the world, babe. Love wins, 2 hearts emoji, haters can choke." One even said, "Glad you dodged that selfish sister of yours. This looked way more fun anyway." I didn't reply. I didn't comment. I just stared. And then I closed the app. My husband woke up not long after. His sleepy voice asking if I was okay nearly broke me. I told him yes. I told him I was fine, and then I curled into his chest and let myself cry silently while he held me without saying a word. The part that stung the most. That none of this surprised me. Not really. See, my sister has always been the favorite. The golden child. The miracle baby. The one who could do no wrong. I was the responsible one. The planner. The fixer. The background character in someone else's spotlight. But here's the good news. Because they threw the party, because they used the venue, the caterers, the flowers, the cake, the photography, all the things that were already paid for, they couldn't legally come after me for wasting their investment. They tried to emotionally manipulate me into reimbursing them for everything. Claimed I owed them. That I ruined the wedding and caused financial damage. But now they can't sue me. They use the same stage, same food, same band, same guests, just repackaged it into a different event. And that, my friends, is the loophole I needed. They may have hijacked my moment, stolen my flowers, and weaponized social media. But they couldn't bankrupt me over it. So yes, all is good. For now. Because some things, no matter how glittery the cover, still rot underneath. And this family? They haven't seen the last chapter yet.